Hey ladies, I have read your practicum logs and provided feedback for you in Typhon. You're going to find your grade and very little detail in Blackboard. Most of your feedback is going to be on Typhon. So go into Blackboard, check your grade, and then go back into Typhon for the detailed feedback. If you have any questions or concerns about the feedback that's been provided, don't hesitate to touch base. One thing related to your practicum logs I want to highlight is to remind you that in your time in the practicum setting, you are to be with your preceptor 90% of the time. That is in the MSN handbook. It's also in our practicum instructions. That 10% is usually reserved for research, or conferences. There are times that you may shadow another leader, maybe for an hour or so. That might be okay. But the vast majority, 90% of your time, needs to be directly supervised by the preceptor that is Liberty approved. If for some reason you need to change your preceptor or there's an issue with getting hours with your preceptor, we need to work through those issues. If you have questions or concerns about that, talk with your course instructor. For right now, that's me in 625, 626. That'll be Dr. Brown. Make sure you are documenting as you write your practicum logs the influence of your preceptor. You do not have to write lots and lots of detail about everything your preceptor is doing, but their supervision should be evident in your practicum logs. Your own analysis or your reflection about their leadership and the things that nurse leader is engaging you with should also be included in that practicum log. So just be mindful to go look at the feedback, reply, or reach out with any questions or concerns. The reflective exercise was about conflict. And this is one of those assignments that I find interesting to read because often people write about things that were really big in their life. Either professionally, it was a major organizational change or major department change that kind of left a lingering memory. The other time, sometimes people really write about the personal things, the interpersonal conflicts that they've experienced that either really grew them or still have some scars. So it's very interesting for me to kind of get to know you a little bit more as students through reading this exercise. So I appreciate your transparency and your efforts to be thorough in explaining the conflict that you experienced. Oftentimes, nurse leaders struggle with their early leadership positions, especially if they are conflict avoidant. They don't like people mad at them. They don't like it when people get exercised and are overly dynamic or become intimidating. If you are not a confrontational person or conflict makes you uncomfortable, that does not mean that you cannot be a rock star leader. It just means that you need some tactics or some strategies to become more effective and then more comfortable in engaging conflict in a purposeful manner that can have a positive outcome for the people involved. People tend to see me as an extrovert, and I am actually very much not an extrovert. I get feedback from students that say, well, you must not be afraid of conflict or having people upset with you. That is also not true. I really do not like to be in conflict with people or policies or with an organization. That does not mean that I don't engage in conflict, but I try really hard to engage in a meaningful way and then to manage my own emotional responses to things that frighten me or make me anxious. I do a lot of self-talk right before I have to go deal with something that really stresses me or deal with someone that really stresses me. And then afterwards, I'm either really, really nauseous or I break out into a cold sweat or my hands are shaking. I've moved past that. Flushing is when that anxiety starts creeping up your body and you get redder and redder. Maybe that's just age and my blood vessels are slowing down or something, but I feel like I'm managing those physiological symptoms of stress that occur during conflict. My encouragement to you is to see conflict as an opportunity to grow, not just grow professionally, but maybe grow in your walk with Christ. One of your classmates did a lovely job connecting these concepts. Your classmate Luann wrote, as a leader, it's important to trust in the Lord as an influential force in settling conflicts. In Isaiah 50, 10, it states, "If you are walking in darkness without a ray of light, trust in the Lord and rely on your God." This is a powerful verse to turn to when leaders are in a crisis situation. Often hard times are a test of our character, making a leader feel that they are faced with the darkness. The Lord uses these trials to develop and strengthen our character. Trust in the Lord, and He will guide you to the light. And that is, I think Luann's done a beautiful job reminding us that when we are faced with things that feel adversarial, that feel emotionally distressing or professionally daunting, that when we are seeking God's grace and God's comfort, He will see us through. It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be ripples, that there aren't going to be hard feelings, or things aren't going to be uncomfortable for a little while, but that you're not alone in that. And really rely on God's guidance as we go through those periods of times when we feel like we're really cut loose from things. So I appreciate Luann's insight with that. You guys did a great job with this assignment. From an APA standpoint, I'm going to encourage you to still really think through the use of level headings as you approach papers. You should not submit a paper in the remainder of this program without level headings. So level 1 and level 2 are a minimum, unless you're doing a 2-page, a quick and dirty reflective exercise. Outside of that, you need to be using level 1 and level 2 throughout your papers in an effective manner. I'm going to send you a hyperlink to a sample paper that the OWL website that's actually managed by Purdue University. They do a great job maintaining that site, so I'm going to send you a sample paper. Page 6 in that sample paper gives you an overview of what level 1, level 2, and level 3 should look like. Your APA manual does another good job of giving you a sample of what those headings look like. Excuse the reach. And those heading examples, page 62, if you have the blue book, and you should have the blue book. So it's page 62 for that. Okay, so that would be my suggestion as far as APA goes. The other thing to remind you, sometimes we get into that flow of writing and we just write, and we wind up with these crazy long paragraphs. I'm going to encourage you to write paragraphs like you would write sentences. You want them to be succinct. And when you shift in topics, you should shift in paragraph. So if you have a page of writing and it's an entire narrative page of your paper, go back in and reread that paragraph and see if you can't break that up into at least 2 or 3 smaller paragraphs. Here's why it helps. When you are reading a book, think about your attention span. If you are reading and the topic goes on and on and on and on and on, and there's no shift, there's no visual shift, sometimes you start tuning out what you're reading. A well-organized paper that's broken down into meaningful paragraphs helps your reader be engaged. So I can read 3 to 5 really good sentences and then shift mentally when I see a new paragraph about something else new but related in 3 to 5 sentences. Some paragraphs are just going to be a little long, but most of the time when our paragraphs get unwieldy, it's because either our sentences are way too long or the structure of the paragraph has poor structure and you've changed topics within that paragraph. Be attentive to that, because that goes back to writing concisely and professionally. A few of you are putting the ISBN with book references in your reference list, and you may be asking, okay, I'm putting it there because the person that put it in the expanded syllabus put it in there. The reason the ISBN is given to you in a course instruction or in course syllabi is to make sure that when you go on to Amazon.com or Google or wherever you're buying your books, that you have the correct ISBN to track the correct version or edition of the book. It is not part of the APA reference, so make sure you take that off. I'm perfectly fine with if you want to copy it from a reliable source. Just make sure you take that ISBN off the end of it. Okay, I think that's about it. So let's talk a little bit about next week. Next week, you have got your voiceover PowerPoints. The purpose of this voiceover PowerPoint is to give you an opportunity to do a brief introduction that came from part 1. This is the overview of the issue that's in your organization, kind of the impact of that issue, how big it is, the prevalence, that kind of stuff. And then you're going to go into the research you've done to find an innovative solution to the problem in part 1. You should not be saying, and this is what we're doing. You should be saying, and this is what I recommend we do now. What is the literature saying about the problem you identified in part one that's innovative? Is there a new technology? Is there a new method? Is there a new process? Is there a new workflow that could address the problem that is in part one that is not currently being done in your organization? The purpose of this is to help you connect evidence and research with innovation. So I want you to be in the literature looking to find out what other organizations have done to resolve this issue. Now, it's okay to Google and see what kind of tools and techniques are out there, but I want you in the literature first. I want you looking for articles that are based on research with somebody trying a new method, a new process, a new item to resolve an issue. And then you can go and look for examples through a Google search if you need to. That's okay. The idea is to use evidence to support what you're doing, so be mindful of that. The next piece of it is you're going to talk about risk and risk aversion. How do you propose this idea but then address the risks that may exist? So you kind of have this three-part process. You also only have 10 to 12 minutes to complete this voiceover PowerPoint. The reason there's a time limit is twofold. One, I don't want you getting lost in the weeds, because something like this you could just go on and on and on about. I want you to be concise. I want you to tell me what you know, tell me what you found, and tell me how you're going to protect the community from risks. You want to be, that first part about tell me what you know is going to be a brief overview. The meat and potatoes of this voiceover is the innovation. Normally we think about 1 to 2 slides per minute. A lot of it's going to do, I get asked, how many slides should I use? That's up to you. I don't like to hang on a slide more than a minute when I'm talking. So for me, I would probably have 12 to 14. I'd have an introductory slide, then I'd have a reference slide, and then the stuff in between would be content. You were given feedback on crafting an aesthetic professional PowerPoint. So that's going to be your first step. The second step is connecting your audio with your voiceover PowerPoint. Make sure you are reading the instructions carefully. If you're having technology issues, you're going to want to call the LUO help desk and have them walk you through those technology issues. I'm not going to be able to answer a lot of those questions because based on the type of computer you have, whether you're in a Word or in a PC, what version of PowerPoint you have, how you're using YouTube, there's lots of variations that without being in your browser, I won't be able to help you with. Please do not wait until Sunday at 9 o'clock to do this. I realize that life is crazy, but if you struggle technology-wise, you're going to be up against a hard line, and I don't want you to be forced to submit something late because you got tangled up in the last few moments of trying to get this done. So start early. The other tip I'm going to give you is practice this before you do the voiceover component. It is tedious to keep re-recording and re-recording. Take your cell phone out, click the timer, and then go through, put your slides on presentation mode, and go through and work through your slides and time it. And then based on the time when you're done, you'll know, okay, I need to take some stuff out of this. It's just easier to do, 2 to 3 dry runs then do your voiceover, because that's the part that's hardest from a technology standpoint, and you only do that once. So save yourself some headache as far as keeping your time limit down. Okay, I think I have covered everything. I've got all my notes covered. Yep, I'm good. So let me know if you have questions or concerns. I'm here. I'm happy to walk you through any questions you have. We are heading into week 6. So you have week 6, 7, 8. So that just means you have 3 more weeks. And then you will be ready to move into, my hope is that you're transitioning into 625, either in fall D or spring B, and that that you have some momentum behind you, and that you are excited because you can finally see the end. 625 and 626 are great courses, lots of group activities, lots of new ideas, new ways of looking at things. So I think those are fun courses. So I hope you have something to look forward to. 3 more weeks and you're almost done. Send me an email with personal questions. Use the Ask the Professor link for general who, what, when, where, how kind of questions. Know that I'm here, know that I'm praying for you, and be sure that you take time out to go enjoy whatever weather change you're experiencing. Unless it's a hurricane, don't enjoy that. Stay inside, stay safe. It's fall. It's just starting to get cool here. I'm in Roanoke, and it's absolutely gorgeous. If the leaves ever change before the course ends, I'll send you some pictures. There's nothing better than fall in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So you guys be in touch. Take care.